Have you ever found yourself wondering how to cultivate a nurturing and harmonious classroom environment, one where every child feels empowered and understood? So, today we're diving into 9 transformational social and emotional learning strategies that can drive epic student growth and create a thriving learning community. Hi, I'm Marion Busfield, a retired special education and classroom teacher with about 20 years of experience. My education and career have provided me with a wealth of knowledge and experience from early primary to middle school, and the highlights of my journey have shown me the invaluable power of evidence-based classroom management. I vividly recall those daunting early days, sleepless nights, and endless weekends. So, I'm here to share a little bit of what I've learned to spare you some of the same struggles. So, are you ready to transform your teaching experience? Let's get started. Welcome to today's video on social and emotional learning strategies for epic growth. Buckle up as I'm going to be sharing 9 strategies, and each strategy is going to come with 3 different activities or examples, and these can transform your teaching practice and will definitely support community building within your classroom. First, a quick pit stop. Why do social emotional learning strategies mean so much in the classroom? Because they integrate emotional intelligence with interpersonal skills. Students develop competencies such as self awareness, self management, social awareness, and relationship skills, and responsible decision making. Social emotional learning, or SEL, is not just about academic success. It's about lifelong skills. Students who engage in SEL strategies see improved behavior, higher academic performance, and better attitudes in the classroom, as shown by the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, otherwise known as CASEL, and in their extensive research. So for the rest of the video, again, I'm going to share 9 strategies, and for each strategy, I will provide 3 examples. So get your pen and paper ready. We're going to begin with self-awareness activities like an emotion chart creation, personal strength walls, and feeling journals. These exercises help students understand and express their own emotions. Have students create emotion charts presenting different facial experiences. You can imagine there might be a bit of a giggle happening in class with this one. They can work individually or in groups to explore and discuss what each expression might signify, and this will aid their understanding of emotional complexity and the nuances they might see on faces. And you will likely see some differences amongst your students as well. Another activity is engaging students in a project where they write or draw their individual strengths, and then you could display them on a classroom wall. This activity is going to build their self-esteem and encourage students to recognize and celebrate their unique abilities and contributions. The last one for personal awareness is having students maintain a feelings journal where they start each day or week by reflecting on how they feel and why they feel that way. This will promote emotional introspection and help students articulate their feelings more effectively. And again, it's going to be a journey as they progress through these reflections. The second strategy is mindfulness practices. These would include things like guided breathing sessions, mindful listening, and body scan relaxation. All of these things are going to aid your students in maintaining focus and helping them to manage their stress effectively. So lead your students through guided breathing sessions where they focus on breathing in and out slowly. This practice enhances a student's ability to remain present and calm, reducing stress and improving focus in the classroom. And that may be as simple as you counting while you tell them to breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, and then you start again. You could conduct mindful listening exercises by having students concentrate on various nature sounds. They can either doodle images inspired by what they hear or listen with their heads on their desks to deepen their attentive skills and promote relaxation. And I would love to go outside with my students and they would just jot or draw anything that they heard. And we lived, our school was on near a highway out of town. And so they did hear lots of nature sounds because opposite on the other side of the highway, I mean, it's not like a 4-lane highway, but on the other side of the highway, there was also a lake and a hill. So we did hear lots of nature sounds, but we also heard highway sounds. And so they would write down all of that because it's not just nature sounds that give us the mindful listening. So you really can do this in the classroom or take your kids outside. It's really about focusing on what they hear. And if they're in an urban area, can they hear nature sounds in the midst of the urban area? Guide your students through a body scan, relaxation meditation, helping them to notice different parts of their bodies and release tension. This practice will improve their bodily awareness, and it also facilitates emotional and physical relaxation as they focus on maybe clenching a body as you name a part of the body, and then just breathe in and relax that part of the body, and then you go on to the next one. To enhance empathy amongst your students, you might try role playing scenarios, creating a kindness tree in class, or engaging in story sharing sessions to develop compassionate listening skills. When you do role playing scenarios, you're allowing students to step into someone else's shoes, acting out different emotions and situations. This activity builds understanding and compassion by helping students somewhat experience the challenges and feelings of others firsthand. I love the idea of create a kindness tree in your classroom where students can add leaves describing acts of kindness they have observed. This visual representation encourages students to recognize and celebrate empathy and compassion in their peers. And we did something similar in my class, and the students loved it. It was a very powerful tool. Story sharing. Encourage your students to share personal stories about times that they helped someone or were helped by others. This activity promotes compassionate listening and helps students appreciate the value of empathy in all of their everyday interactions. And it also will help students that sometimes may be angry or feel like they're not cared for. It may be helpful for them to start having a more positive mindset and recognize where they are treated kindly in their lives. Collaborative projects are powerful. They can be simple activities like buddy reading, which isn't so much of a project, but it is collaborative. You could do group art projects, and create a classroom garden. All of these things can strengthen relationships and encourage traits like patience, kindness, and teamwork. It will need to be nurtured though. So for buddy reading, you simply pair students and have them read stories together. And this encourages them to assist each other with challenging words, which of course you will need to maybe give them a little bit instruction on how to do that. So they're doing it gently and respectfully. This activity nurtures patience and enhances communication skills as students work together regardless of their reading levels. And I saw a ton of this in my classroom. We did it consistently as a part of a classroom activities, but my students read a lot of books out of the classroom library through their free time. It was probably their top free time activity. But I did have other things like STEM kits, but this they gravitated to all the time. Engage students in group art projects, such as creating a mural or a collective artwork. Um, in my primary classroom, when I was teaching in the primary classroom, we combined individual artistic contributions into one cohesive project. And this taught students the power of teamwork and collective effort. And it's kind of a nice way of, when you do this visually, it's nice to see how something simple like for a really large project, we created a forest, and some of the parts of the forest were just logs. So they're just painting a long strip of brown paper. And how does that become a beautiful mural? And they'll begin to see it as they put it together. And another time, students just created their own little individual Christmas tree, and I put it on a bulletin board, and we made a Christmas forest as part of our classroom decorations. These are very powerful because they allow the student to work independently, but also collaboratively, and see the power of working together. because it's nice to have those moments where they have to resolve things and listen to each other, but also to see the power of working separately and what their contributions build. And you can extrapolate that to the strengths that each student brings to a class and how, as a whole, what they bring as individuals makes the whole a better place to learn. Now, I confess, we grew plants in my classroom and sprouted seeds and did all sorts of fun things like that. We never actually maintained a classroom garden and thought about it lots, could never make it come to pass. But creating and maintaining a classroom garden is definitely evidence-based, and it involves students in shared responsibilities. By assigning different tasks to each group, you can strengthen cooperation and responsibility as students nurture and watch their garden grow together. And again, we accomplished much of that, having the students grow things inside the classroom. We just didn't get them out to the garden because, first of all, they wouldn't have gotten to harvest anything. That's the part that I was really trying to sort out by thinking about it, other than radishes, and not every child likes radishes. The second part is a lot of what we grew, we were giving away. um, they were flowers and things that we gave away when parents came to visit. So it doesn't have to be a plot of land. You can incorporate this concept in a variety of ways. Now, we know that as teachers, we're role models, and every time we work through conflict resolution with them, we're teaching them what we believe are effective strategies. So hopefully, we're doing it well. But we can teach conflict resolution through things like a peace table, a feeling circle, and a solution wheel. These strategies are going to teach students to navigate disagreements constructively, and what a powerful skill to give them for their lifetime. The peace table provides a designated space for students to come together and resolve disagreements with guidance. It encourages open dialogue, helping students practice of effective communication and empathy in seeking a peaceful solution. And it's such a formal name, the peace table. In my classroom, when they had conflicts, especially if it was out on the playground, we would just come to my desk and we would sit and we would resolve issues there. If you're interested in learning more about that, look for my video called on restorative practices in the classroom, and I go into detail in that how I created that peace table. Although, I call it restorative practices, that is essentially the same thing. Then there's a feeling circle, which gathers students in a safe, inclusive space to discuss misunderstandings or conflicts. Each student takes a turn to speak, and that promotes active listening and collective problem solving, which builds that strong sense of community. And again, this is one of the parts of restorative practices that I refer to in another video of mine. Now, the solution wheel helps students brainstorm ideas for resolving conflicts by spinning a wheel of possible solutions. And this is a visual and interactive tool that engages students in thinking creatively, and it will help them to collaboratively overcome challenges as they agree on something rather than coming up on it on their own. It may be just as effective to have these on cards where they draw them, because I mean, if you're spinning a wheel, it's random, just as if you have them choose from a stack of cards with some of the strategies on them. Personally, in my classroom, we just brainstormed with what we knew, and we practiced. Really, it's entirely up to you. But this is the most important part here is that you're focusing on brainstorming together for resolution. Now, your students are going to need emotional regulation strategies because they're either going to be excited or frustrated, or, I mean, I just all the students at certain parts of the year are just over the moon and having a hard time controlling themselves. And there are the harder emotions like not getting invited to a birthday party. We've all got to learn how to regulate our emotions. So, this can be from simple things like calm down kits. You can use an emotion thermometer and conduct yoga sessions, and these help students to manage their emotions and stress in a healthy way. So a calm down kit is equipped with items like stress balls, coloring pages, puzzles. Um, These resources provide students with practical tools to calm down when feeling overwhelmed, and this promotes self-regulation when they're feeling really emotionally high. Um, and again, during quiet time in my class, I didn't have a specific kit, but I had these tools throughout the class, and my students did, when they came in from recess, higher than a kite from playing and having fun. Our schedule in our school worked on outside first, then come in for snack. So as soon as they were finished eating, whatever time they had left, they could access different tools on different days. And coloring pages were always available, books were always available, puzzles were frequently available, STEM kits were available, and of course we had things like stress balls as well. And all of these things are very effective for calming students down. So again, it's having the items available. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a bin or a kit that you have to pull out. So, an emotion thermometer is a wall chart that helps students gauge the intensity of their emotions. It guides them in identifying appropriate calming strategies, and it also creates an awareness of school appropriate strategies and effective social emotional management. Because keep in mind, what we call an appropriate emotion, anger is an appropriate emotion. It's how we demonstrate it we allow it to manifest around others and even within ourselves that is really what's appropriate or inappropriate. Now, in my classroom, I didn't actually use a thermometer. So, again, like some of the other things that I've mentioned, tweak this for what works for you. In my classroom, we reviewed the zones of regulation. And I can't tell you too much about that right now, but it's easy to just Google. And we reviewed that. And there's blue zone, green zone, yellow zone, red zone. And then once we reviewed it, I put the exact paper copy of what we'd done up on my wall as an anchor chart that was there all year. And so when I gave them various strategies for calming themselves, like, so if I said, okay, let's take an active break, but they knew that the purpose of the active break was to help them regulate their emotions. I really liked teaching kids to use physical activity to calm themselves, to burn off their energy, helping them make that personal connection with how movement helped them to maintain social regulation or self-regulation. I just thought it was a great lifelong knowledge to have. But anyways, so I just had a poster. It wasn't actually a thermometer, and I would refer to it and explain, okay, a little bit of red zone. What are we going to do for getting ourselves back into the green zone? And sometimes that would be an active break. Sometimes I would explain to them, you're in the yellow zone, but you've just had your run around the school, which is supposed to get you to the green zone. You need to communicate to me now that that works for getting into the green zone, or I just won't give you that time. And so very quickly they learn that it gets them into the green zone. So don't worry too much about being specific that it has to be a thermometer, but absolutely a powerful tool to communicate the different areas of self-regulation and knowing what's appropriate for the classroom that's separately appropriate or inappropriate in the playground, and etc. Conducting simple yoga sessions in class supports students in managing stress and finding physical and mental balance. Now, these sessions will teach students mindfulness and relaxation techniques. As they connect the mind to the body, they'll be focused on that. It will develop some neuroplasticity there with calming, and it's a technique that they're maybe going to use throughout their lives, and it can be simple. We don't have to have everybody on mats on the floor, which is really nice yoga, but you can have them stand up and do some warrior poses or any kind of stretching pose that you're really helping them to focus on their different body parts and make that connection. Next strategy is relationship skills workshops, and these are for building strong connections. So we would have things like a compliment circle, a friendship pledge, having them engage in partner games, which enhance students' abilities to form and maintain positive relationships. Again, what you want is a classroom full of students who are content to be together. This isn't about making everybody best friends, but sometimes that can happen, but it's just about building a safe, inclusive community. The compliment circle involves students sitting together, taking turns to give each other compliments. Pretty simple. And this activity will build a supportive environment and boost self esteem, encourage students to recognize and articulate positive qualities in their peers. And again, you can implement this idea in a number of ways. We didn't actually sit in a circle to do it. Partly because I felt at that grade level it could be a little hard on the boys, and as they get older, it could be hard on boys giving girls compliments. I mean, and vice versa. What we would do in my classroom is everybody would have a sheet, and on the sheet, um, you would just go around. They would leave the sheet with their name on their desk, and we would do a gallery walk. And there's some prep for it. There's brainstorming, appropriate words for kindness. You could put other things, but giving the scaffold the support of words that were kind, discuss consequences for words that are put down that are unkind. And then, of course, there is responsibility as a teacher. You need to read every single word on every single sheet to make sure that they understood and they weren't being mischievous and saying something hurtful. And yes, I choose to believe that they're being mischievous instead of unkind. I did one time have one student write one word on one sheet. And I didn't cancel all of them because of that one word. We just put a scribble on everybody's sheet and had a. I have no idea who the student was. Told them I didn't want to know because I talked to the whole class about the impact of that word on that student's sheet. So if it was mischievousness, then they can go, oh, it's not really a joke, it's not funny. And if it was intentional, they were aware that it hadn't happened to that student. So the point I'm making is these are very powerful. I find written, and I mean, I've got compliment circles that were given to me, and I still haven't pulled it out. I don't know, once every year, once every 2 years, and it's really s- esteem building. It's really just a delight to have in your life, and my students love doing it for each other. Developing a friendship pledge means you're going to create a classroom contract that outlines how students agree to treat one another. And you're going to regularly revisit this pledge, and this reinforces the values of kindness and respect and strengthens the sense of community and accountability. Now, to me, and of course, these things come with all sorts of names. Mine was we created classroom expectations together at the beginning of the year. We agreed how we were going to treat each other. They did have to agree to treat each other. If somebody had questions or said they didn't want to be part of one part of it, we had that conversation, and a polite, respectful conversation. I always got students to the place where everybody wanted to participate in that commitment to each other. So whether you call it a friendship pledge or classroom expectations, it's really the same thing. You're getting your students to participate in and agree on a set of guidance and expectations that would inform how your classroom was going to behave towards each other. It's fantastic. Can't live without it. Now, this is you can engage students in partner games that require trust and cooperation. These might include the trust falls with spotters. You've heard of those, I'm sure. These activities build mutual respect and teamwork and help students form and maintain strong connections with their classmates. I would not do this on the first day of school. I would make sure I knew my students, knew that I could trust them to be there for each other if I was going to do trust falls. I mean, um, yeah, you really have to prepare the classroom in order to do this, but we've all heard of trust falls and are aware of how impactful they can be. Encouraging a growth mindset, one of my personal favorites. You can do this through goal setting, growth mindset mantras, and discussing the mistake of the day to instill resilience and a love for learning. Encourage your students to set personal and academic goals, discuss ways to achieve them. And by doing this, you're not only focusing their efforts and helping them to really see where they want to go, but it helps them to develop a sense of accountability and a proactive attitude towards their learning journey to help them to understand that this is their learning journey, not something that they're doing for you, it's theirs. Teach your students simple mantras that reinforce the concept that they can improve through practice. These affirmations, repeated regularly, help your students to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth and learning. In my classroom, we had a series of posters when they would say, I'm not sure I can do this tremulously, or if they were getting a little escalated, we would say, I can do hard things, and we would go through the four posters. And often I would say things to them like, you know, you did that on your own. All I did was ask questions. And those kind of things are very powerful and do change a student's mindset. I had one little student who was actually quite a bold little student, but at the end of the year, what she wrote in her card to me was, "You made me brave." And wow, is that meaningful as a teacher? And a lot of it was the growth mindset, I believe. Normalize mistakes by discussing one mistake each day and what can be learned from it. By highlighting these learning moments, students understand that mistakes are an integral part of the learning process and a stepping stone to success. And I guarantee you that at the beginning, you're going to be the one claiming all the mistakes. So as you make mistakes, and it can be silly little mistakes in the classroom, just jot yourself a note so that you can role model. Because I was totally comfortable making mistakes in front of students, and I said, "Oh, I did it," and I would point it out and put a smile on my face. I discovered towards the end of I kept a lot of my students for 2 years, not because they failed, but because I had a multi-age classroom. And a sensitive little girl just loved me to bits, and just delightful little girl. And about two-thirds of the way through the second year together, I discovered that she really felt badly for me anytime I made a mistake, because she felt that I must be just mortified inside. And it was such a pleasure to learn that from her and say, "No, sweetheart, I'm okay with making mistakes. That's just life." And she was a budding perfectionist, so hopefully that had an impact on her. So again, using expressive arts to explore emotions and express emotions creatively much might be a way safer way for students to share their emotions. Emotion drawing encourages students to express their emotions using colors and shapes, and this kind of creative outlet helps students to visualize and articulate their feelings, and that really grows that emotional awareness and self-expression in a safe and imaginative way. People like music. You can also explore a variety of musical styles and ask students to express what the music evokes through dance or drawing. This activity enhances their ability to connect auditory experiences with their emotions and broadens their emotional vocabulary and their understanding. Of course, we all know about puppet shows. These involve your students creating and performing short skits that can express different emotions or social situations. This interactive performance encourages empathy and communication skills. It's a really safe way to do it because they're not necessarily sharing their own emotions. They're speaking about their um, puppets' emotions. It might be a nice bridge or scaffold getting them to express their emotions. Excuse me. As students explore and role play various emotional contexts, it will get that exploration happening. It's also great if, as you go through some or all of these activities with your classroom, there is a way for either the students to share reflective journals, to take the activities home. You know, some students will already be talking about these activities at home, but doing your best to ensure that all of these, or not all of these, but some of these get home. Um, to the parents, because they may not have been exposed to things like this. And this is great learning for parents who have not been taught any of these things. We really teach in a global classroom now, and it's really important and helpful often to be a participant in encouraging that conversation at home. And as a student, hopefully that is nurtured at home and at school. It just strengthens what your students are going to bring or have. And you'll even find maybe some students will say, "Oh, so and so says enough of that. We're not doing that at home." That will give you greater understanding of your student and why they may really struggle with this, and how to teach them in a way that helps them to respect their families, but also develop these oh so important skills. You can encourage the parents to integrate social emotional learning at home. You can do that through emails, sharing the strategies and activities, talking about what's coming home, what their children learned that day. Parental involvement can reinforce all of this emotional recognition and empathy. And if that works, that's fantastic. Thanks for sticking with me today as I seem to be slowly losing my voice. Remember, social and emotional learning strategies help reshape students' emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills. Implementing these activities, starting today even, can prepare your students for academic success and a fulfilling life, impacting not only their future, but that of future generations. You can have a profound impact here. So, social emotional learning is one of my 5 pillars of classroom management, all of them evidence based. So, if you want to learn more about my other pillars of classroom management, and because you're ready to take your classroom management to the next level, download my gift to you, the free classroom management checklist that you're going to see on the far right over there. And this is your guide to classroom management success. You can use the bit.ly link you see on the screen, scan the QR code here, or I also have put the link in the description down below. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope I will see you again soon. You will see on this screen here some suggested videos uh, i- that go along with this video, that align a little bit with this video. If you found this video helpful, and I really hope you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. If you do this, I can help more teachers and we can help more students together. So thank you for your time, support, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.